In the heart of a small village lived Achi. She was a beautiful woman, full of life, yet behind her bright smile was a sorrow that no one dared to speak of. Her husband Oti was a respected fisherman. He provided for his family, but his temper was as wild as the stormy lake. When he is angry, his voice roars louder than the village drums, and Archie becomes his silent drum, bearing the brunt of his anger without a word. Every evening, after Oti returned from the lake, the house trembled. Archie would serve him fresh food, making sure everything was perfect. But perfection was never enough for Oti. If the fufu was too salt, she felt his wrath. If the fish was too dry, his feet spoke louder than his words. Their children would huddle in the corner, their eyes filled with silent fear. One evening, after a particular harsh storm, Oti came home drenched and frustrated. His cat had been poor, and his anger was unbearable. He screamed for Archie to come help him with his work tools, and before Archie could react, his hand struck her cheek. But that night, something changed. Ambo, their 10 years old daughter, stood up with anger. She shouted, "Baba, stop!" Oti froze, never had his daughter speak back to him. Her voice held the weight of everything heavy, something he had never noticed before. He looked around. His son Ino in the corner, his eyes mirroring the same fear he had seen in Archie's. For the first time, Oti saw his reflection in their tears. The silence stretched. The house, which he had always been filled with his shouts, now echoed with his shame. That night, Archie didn't cry herself to sleep. Instead, Oti sat beside her. "Forgive me," he murmured. "I would never lay my hands on you again." The next morning, Oti did something no man in the village had done before. He walked to the village elders, confessed his wrongs, and asked for help. The elders realized that of a truth they had ignored this situation for generations. A strong man is not one who beats his wife, but one who protects her. From that day, the village changed. Oti became an example, not of violence, but of redemption. He learned to control his anger, to speak instead of strike. Other men followed, and slowly the silent drums, the women who never spoke up, began to speak. And for the first time, the village heard them. Love should never hurt. In a home, respect and kindness should speak louder than fear. Change begins when we listen.